White ball, and that's it. New Zealand lift the Tri-Nation trophy here in Karachi at the National Bank Stadium. A team that just couldn't be defeated.
That was from just 2 weeks ago when Pakistan lost hands down to New Zealand at home in the Tri-Series. And it's a pity that Pakistan couldn't do much better in the Champions Trophy either. But the signs were already there. Clearly no tools to trouble some of the top teams like India and New Zealand. And did you hear what Michael Atherton and Nasser Hussain had to say? They said, while Pakistan are the hosts of the Champions Trophy, it is India that really have a home advantage. And on this episode of Big Story of the Week, we're going to dig a little deeper and see if there's any merit to that conversation. Does India really have an unfair advantage in the Champions Trophy? India play all their matches in Dubai in the Champions Trophy, and so if India make it to the final, that'll mean 5 matches in an ICC tournament at the same venue. Now, has that ever happened before? We go back to 2002, India and Sri Lanka in a Champions Trophy tournament played all 5 matches in the same venue. There's a slight difference though. That tournament, the final had to be played twice because of rain interference. And so if you consider the final, which was played over 2 separate games, as one, then yes, for the first time in cricket history, one team will play an entire ICC tournament, 5 matches in the same venue. So how exactly does playing in just one venue give you an advantage? For starters, India know that they were only going to play in Dubai, so they get to tailor their squad ground that they're going to play in. And that is why India's squad had only the 2 frontline seamers and had the luxury of picking 5 spinners on what would have been slower tracks catered to the spinners. If Ravindra Jadeja or Akshar Patel did get injured, they had the luxury of bringing a Washington Sundar in, or come the knockouts, maybe introduce the mystery spin of Varun Chakrabarti as well. But what if India had to play on the flat tracks in Pakistan? Then India's bowling would have well looked very different. Would India have gone with 5 spinners? Probably not, especially considering India have just the 1 senior seamer coming back after an injury and 2 inexperienced medium pacers. That certainly is an advantage. And apart from just tailoring your squad for one venue, there's also the added advantage of staying in one hotel in one city, less travel, and obviously better rest as well. The average age of this Indian team is 30. And Virat Kohli did acknowledge after the game against Pakistan that we wouldn't mind having the extra day of rest, less travel, and having an entire week between games. And in the Champions Trophy in 2002, no team had any travel at all. All the games were played in Colombo, so there was no real advantage or disadvantage. But in this case, India with lesser travel, more rest, and all the matches in one venue is certainly another point to note. And what about the conditions? In all the matches played in Pakistan in the Champions Trophy, we've seen scores in excess of 300 in at least one innings, except for one game. In fact, 2 of those games saw scores in excess of 300 in both the innings. You compare that to Dubai, where teams are struggling to get to even 250. India would have completed 3 games in the Dubai International Stadium by the end of the league stages, and come the semi-final and final, India will be playing teams that have played in completely different conditions. Is that an added advantage? Absolutely another point to note. Does having an advantage of playing in just one venue directly translate to wins on the field? Let's take Pakistan, our neighbours, for example. They played the Tri-Series right before the Champions Trophy in exactly the same conditions, but that didn't amount to too much. They've played in conditions where 300 plus has been the norm for a long time now. Over the last 5 years, Pakistan's batters have been playing at home so much cricket. 4 out of the top 7 batters that played against India have a strike rate that is questionable. Or you take Afghanistan, for example, who've been one of the most consistent sides in the ODI format. They went on to beating Pakistan, Sri Lanka and England in the 2023 ODI World Cup. All world champions at one point. And so they also went on to beating England once again just a few days ago. So does that mean that India have an unfair advantage considering they're playing all their matches in one venue? Absolutely yes. But does that mean India's going to win the Champions Trophy? Absolutely not. They have to play their best cricket. That's what we think. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below.